The deputy president operates on an open door policy where the party in itself, the message to the people and encouraging. And I can assure you, Trevor, and confide in you, it's not, now that I'm speaking about it, as there are many governors, many senators, and many colleagues in the National Assembly, and even many leaders across this country who are just waiting. By August, the stampede will be on in this country. And all of them want to be part of the Hustler movement. I know of governors, senators, and many other colleagues who want to join the Hustler movement going into the future. It means that they know where the winning team is. The people like Adonwa Mushomba, Kashobe, Gigari, and many other friends who are joining to be part of the Hustler movement are not joining because they want political survival. They have realized that this is the winning team. And secondly, what I want to say is that the Ruto presidency, God willing, with the permission of Kenyans and blessings of God, our main agenda will be try and fix the economy. You are aware that the economy is doing badly as we talk today. And you heard what the deputy president, I had alluded first in West Pokot, that the reason we want, and I want to appeal, my brother here, the party leader, my Maendeleo Chapter party leader, Governor Mutua, and any person who would want to form a political party. Let us form political parties that are based on ideology, that are not based on region or ethnic politics, where you can go to Mombasa and get a candidate of UDA. You can come to Nandi and have a candidate of Chap running. You can go to Kiambu and have a candidate running in ODM. You can go to somewhere in Siaya and have a candidate of little-known Jubilee Party somewhere running for an MCA seat. I think if we want to go forward into the country, and yesterday evening I was listening to the Citizen Radio, and Edwin Obuya was running about the betrayal in politics. It is because we have personalized politics, such that if Kimani Wamatangi today is a popular candidate, of course I hope so, when he joins the Hustler movement in Kiambu, and today decides to form another party, everybody in Kiambu migrates with him. I wish when we are supporting a political party, you should be saying, I'm in this political party because there are certain, and I think Governor Mutua had alluded to, because there are certain ideological issues that are associated with it. For me, I support UDA because they resonate very well. They want to address the micro, not macro economy, micro economy of the border, of mamambogas, of the youth. Another political party maybe would come and say, we support political party because it is promoting devolution. Another political party will say, we are supporting political party X because it promotes cohesion of the country, the national unity, the peace. But Trevor, going forward, and I alluded to in the beginning that the deputy president is willing and will be willing to work with each and every party leader. And I can assure you by August, the people who will be joining the Hustler movement will even shock you as a person. So I want to say finally that, of course, the hen days of Jubilee is coming, and you can see in 15 July in Kiamba by-election, as I had predicted. And you know, for example, the women representative of Kiambu comes from where the by-elections will be. And that I can predict that that will be the funeral of Jubilee Party in Kiamba by-elections. And I want to repeat to Kimani Wamatangi that it is the right time to be part of us, to be part of the change that we want to see. But any person who will be leaving last, I wouldn't wish my brother to be the one. Make sure you switch off the lights and give the keys to the watchman and come out.
Governor Mutua, will you be joining the Hustler Nation? Are you willing to work with the deputy president, Governor?
Even before I talk about working with the deputy president and everything, let me just say a few things that have come up. You know, when my good former future colleague in Azuran government, Wamatangi, talks about countries like Belgium, Australia, and others, Israel framed on, on coalitions, and that's a state of life in Germany, for example. But you see, those are coalitions based on ideology. You see, it's the far right and the far left. You hear about the centralists. So it is not just people joining because of tribal blocks. Here in Kenya, they are saying, haya, Muluya ni nani, Mukamba ni nani, Mkikuyu ni nani, leta watu makabila, so that now our people have been programmed to go and vote like sheep going to the slaughter, not based on what you're going to get as an individual and as a community, because these are a party with ideology or a coalition ideology. It's all based on tribal balkanization, which is very weak. It's a very simplistic way of thinking. And it is when we free ourselves from this type of simplistic tribal affiliations, that is when we'll be able to rise as a country, because that means that we can reason beyond our primitive tribal affiliations and be able to say, this is the right thing for us, as they do in the developed countries. The other thing is that all these things are meant to return us or maintain the status quo. You see, the people who fought for independence, and we say thank you very much, and they gained independence, and they have been empowered throughout, they try to retain the status quo. It is either the son of this one, or it is the one who worked with this one, who was supported by this one, so that they don't leave room for anybody else, because it's all about money. You know, the rich continue becoming richer, the poor continue becoming poorer, and hence we continue the problems. If you look at even the handshake, for example, the BBI, all the things we are doing, they are essential, yes. They're important for a country at this time. We talk about uniting the country, as Senator Matangi is talking about. But the reason we have all those issues of handshake and peace and stability is because we are poor. The richer countries don't kill each other every elections. The richer countries don't burn buildings or displace people on tribal lines during every election. It's because we are poor. If we fight poverty, and we cannot fight poverty by balkanizing ourselves into coalitions of tribal affiliations, we fight poverty by ideologically, getting ourselves together to principles that will change our people. So they are coalitions of ideology. So lastly, before I answer your question, is this issue of defections. I saw it. You see, during the Kibaki era, near the end of his term, even the first term, when people thought he would lose, there was a lot of defections. People are going to see Raila Odinga at night, others were defecting, and all this, because people are weak. People do not have a stand because they are not elected on an ideology. They're elected and they're standing. It's all about their personal survival. So, my good Senator Cherangai, I don't think that this fast and furious, the people running from in Mount Kenya towards your party is because they believe in your party ideology. It's because either one, they have been given a lot of money, which I believe is the truth, or two, it's because they are afraid of their own political leanings. It's not about the Mwananchi. It's not about the woman in the village. It's not about an ideology. And let us remember, I don't worry about defections. Since independence, look at Madhavu, 80%, 75 to 80% of legislators have gone home. So only 20% retained their seats. 60% of governors went home. Senators will go home, 80%. That's a Kenyan tradition. So all these people are defecting. Chances are very high they'll not be elected anyway. So anyway, it looks good right now. But at the end of the day, some majority will go because Wananchi are tired of watermelons. Wananchi are tired of people who are here today, they are tomorrow. Let us have leaders who have a stand. And you can only have a stand if you have an ideology of helping Wananchi. Joining Ruto, it depends on the coalitions. Everything depends on, is it helpful to our country? You know, will Ruto have a government that will really fight corruption while he himself has been accused of corruption? Will Ruto really bring people together when he's been accused of division? I want Senator Cherangai to tell us what happened to Tuko Pamoja. You know, Ruto and Uhuru were holding hands, wearing red ties, looking like a married couple, saying Weko Pamoja, running a government the first time, re-elected together, running a government. Hii shida imetokea tu juzi wakati wa handshake. What were they doing those 7 years together? How come now he's talking about the hustler system? Where was he when they were creating hustlers in this country? Did he fail in his job? Was he sleeping in his job? So these are the things that I have to answer to myself and listen to my people before I can join any coalition.
Okay. Mumetangi?
Yes.
You know the title there is Mount Kenya Rebellion in Top Gear.
Yes.
As MPs flock to the Ruto camp. Is there a rebellion in your region?
Trevor, I think this is an issue that I would want to take on, and you give me 5 minutes so that I will.
5 minutes is quite a long time.
One, Trevor, I think there is a big misconception. There is a misunderstanding and a misinterpretation, in my view, of where we are supposed to be, where we are supposed to be going, and who we are.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I say that. First, you know, I, as the senator for Kiambu County and the majority chief whip in Senate, I was elected under a Jubilee ticket. That Jubilee party that I was elected in, the president of that party is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
Yeah.
And the deputy president, as of today, is William Samoei Ruto.
Yeah.
And nowhere at any one time have I heard or seen or even read that William Samoei Ruto has abdicated that has surrendered or resigned as the deputy president and as a member of the Jubilee Party. And why I call it a misinterpretation is because, Trevor, let us remember that we have two issues here. The first is the politics of 2022 and succession and who will be running. The second is on a government that is in place, having been formed by a political party that won elections with a mandate which is constitutional and promissory, that is signed upon by those people in Jubilee to deliver on that agenda until 2022 August. Those are the two distinctions. And if you ask me, how do I see or where do I place those movements, if you call them defections, if you call them whatever you'd like, because even when, for example, like all the members of parliament, my very good friend, you know, the women rep Kiambu County yesterday and the others, when they move there, they don't say that we have resigned from Jubilee or we have left Jubilee. They just simply say that we have come, you know, to the hustler movement.
Yeah.
And I think, in my view, that is a misinterpretation. It is a misdirection. It is a move at the wrong time. And if they like, according to their own interpretation, to a place they would like to be. Because, Trevor, you see, we have got an agenda to deliver to the people of Kenya. And if you ask me myself, because I've had my very good friend, Senator Cheragay, inviting me to go join the hustler movement. You see, I have principles. I have principles that I choose to stand and live by. One, I choose to be consistent. Number two, I choose to be reliable. And I also choose to be true. Because when I took oath in the office of the Senate in 2017, I promised that I would deliver on that mandate until 2022. And I have no mix up in my mind or misconception that the politics of 2022 have anything to do with what I need to do now. And until the time when I made that promise and when I took that oath, I have to support the work of the government that is in place until it's expiring. I have to support the agenda of the President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and his work until he exits office. I have to support the work which also binds the Deputy President, William Samoei Ruto, to what he also signed upon and which he cannot exit until 2022. Now, when it comes to the discussions of what cards will be on the table in 2022, and nobody knows this better than Senator Cheragay, than the Deputy President, than all politicians, including all those that we've been talking about here. No one knows better than them that when you place those cards on the table at that time, it is a whole new discussion. It is a whole new direction. That is when you start people seeing, you know, if I have a political party, I don't have to join with William Ruto because I've gone to the hustlers movement. I can have my own survivors movement. He says hustlers, I can form my own and call it the survivors movement. And we say, we imagine and work together. You get what I mean? You can find that even he himself will find he's better off working with somebody else when he's running for that office. And I want to say respectfully, Trevor, I have absolutely in my mind nothing at all against a bid by, for example, the Deputy President wanting to run for that office. I've always been very consistent about that. There is nothing wrong in him wanting to be president and running for that office. Like every other Kenyan child and man has a right to run for that office. The question is, as he runs for that office, as Governor Mutua runs for that office, as Kimani Wamatangi runs for that office, and every other person who wants to run for that office, what about the here and now? What about the promises that we made to the people of this country? That we are going to be true to what we showed them that time in our manifesto, in our plan, that they believed in and that they bought. And once we have dealt with that and said, book closed, delivery here, this is your marking scheme, the voters of Kenya, tell us how did we perform. They say you did well, you did badly, you did this. Or then from there now we can say, let us chart a new political course. But right now, in my view, Trevor, to pretend to go and say that, oh, this morning I have crossed over and I have, unless I will bite the bullet, I will have the gumption as a man to say, I exit the party of Jubilee today. And then I have now gone back to the ground either to campaign to be re-elected anew under UDA. It is now a political party. Then that is the only time I can say now I have left. Right now I will be lying to say that I have left to go and join UDA while I have a constitutional obligation, while I have a promise I have made and an oath that I took, that I am going to work consistently until that time and ensure that the agenda of the people of Kiambu, as far as the senator of Kiambu is concerned, the agenda of the government of the day until that time is delivered. After 2022, one that has been done, then we are going to have a fresh conversation that will be based on what are the realities on ground, what does the country want, where do we go?
But you're the majority whip, so are these people who have declared, including your own women representative, declaring that now they've moved, is there going to be any action? Or should we just let them make the utterances and go scot-free?
Well,
later, no nothing, no resignation?
You know, Trevor, that discussion we've had here, and do you remember we had that discussion when we were talking about Cherargei here, and when they were making many other allegations here, that they have now left Jubilee and so on, and that is verbal. Part of, in my view, where we have a problem is our honor and respect for our law. Because as we've said here before, the Political Parties Act is very clear, and that's what I've just said about myself. If I was to move to the Hustler movement today, I would leave everything. I would resign. I would forsake my salary and my allowances and everything that I've got and go back to the people and seek re-election. And that's why I've said I choose to be consistent until that time to keep my words true. Now, because I'm not the political party boss, so I cannot promise anybody that they are going to be acted against or whipped or kicked out, and neither am I neither am I the custodian of the law. I'm not the Attorney General or anyone else who has that mandate. But I believe at the end of the day, if we are going to have a neat, hygienic political system, if we are going to have an advancement in our political ideology and deliver to this country, one thing that we will have to start doing is to respect our laws. And that, as far as the Political Parties Act is concerned and its intentions when it was formed, it was intended to make it possible for parties to start having ideologies that they sell around people, not just to be a special purpose vehicle to deliver politicians to the next election. Now, once we start doing that, you will find that it will be unnecessary. And let me say this as my last words, Trevor, that politicians are going to start enjoying politics when you become a member of a party that looks like, for example, the Democratic Party of the United States or the Republican Party, whereby you know that you belong to a party that has got ideals, that has got legs, that has got a constitution, that has got people who believe in things they can stand for the next 50 years, 100 years, and when somebody joins that party, they know what to expect. Now, this is that's the challenge that I believe we have as politicians, and I want to urge my presidential colleague in his Mombasa, as I wish him well, what he's doing. And for your information, Trevor, as I said when I sat here, the presidential side today is cold because, my presidential colleague does a good job when we are here.
Is it a jam offensive?
I'll be telling you, my presidential partner, when you're out there, that, do what you have to do. We have to change this country. We have to ensure that even as you work on your party, as my good friend Cherargei told you, work on that party to be a party that is based on ideals. That is the country we want. That is the kind of political leadership that we want. And I believe moving forward, one step at a time, we'll change this country.
All right. Cherargei, has there been any exchange of cash to these politicians? And be careful before you answer that question, because eventually
of course, I think I will need around 10 minutes to respond to Governor Mutua and my brother Yegeman, but I'll take less time. That's on a lighter note. One is that the problem that we are facing in this country, and I think I wish Kimani Wamatangi was telling the president what he's telling the nation now on the issue of ensuring that we have political parties, because Jubilee was a national party, and if the party leader of Jubilee was keen Jubilee would have gone for many years in terms. Secondly, I have had, and it is unfortunate, Governor Mutua making serious and casting aspersions that cash has been exchanged. From where I sit, I am not aware. Those are street talk. I think maybe Governor Mutua has been on the streets too much. And you know, when you are somewhere in Kencom or some under a tree, taking Munazi somewhere in the coast, there is a lot of gossip in the streets, and I think he has been listening too much, because casting serious aspersion and saying cash has been exchanged, and he has not been anywhere near the Hustler's mansion. So he doesn't know what happens in the Hustler's mansion. So let it treat it that those are just to make it, to sweeten, you know, to make it sensational, so that media can pick it up. But I can tell you the people who are joining Hustler movement are joining it out of conviction. And Kimani Wamatangi should not lie to the nation that the political parties have the laws, what we have a big four agenda. President Uhuru Kenyatta himself has defected to NASA. President Uhuru himself has abandoned the big four agenda. The problem we are facing, and let us bite the bullet, as he has said, the problem that we are facing as a country is because President Uhuru Kenyatta wants to succeed himself. And I've said this on the show. He wants to succeed himself. Because as a second-term president who is exiting, he should be busy implementing the big four agenda. Look, for the last 3 years when handshake happened in 2018, the president has abandoned the big four agenda and is now selling the BBI agenda, which, and I agree with Kimani Wamatangi, that the re-election of President Uhuru Kenyatta, there was a covenant, there was an agreement between him and Kenyans of the big four agenda. When we were campaigning saying Tano Tena for him, there is nowhere did he say that he's going to have an agenda called BBI. He always assured Kenya that there is a big four agenda. For us who come from region where farming is there, like you and me, is where the food security was one of the key things. Industrialization, and I'm happy Chapcha Party leader said there will be a manufacturing or an industry within every ward if he becomes the president of this country. Those are the issues that the president should have implemented. What prevents President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is having his second term, to implement the big four agenda until his chief whip in the Senate is telling us that we need to be implementing the president's agenda? The president can continue implementing his agenda, but the problem is the president, instead of implementing big four agenda, he is busy endorsing people. He is busy trying to succeed himself, because I would have expected the President Uhuru Kenyatta by now to be focusing on his legacy projects, to be focusing on the big four agenda, and behave in a manner, and Maendeleo Chapcha Party leader, Governor Mutua was Kibaki, and allow people to succeed, to fight over his succession. For example, why would the state want to manage how Okoa Kenya lands, not Okoa Kenya, but one Kenya lands want to be run? Why would it be bred under state management? Why would the president be the one saying, no, you know, 2 tribes have been running for presidency, we need another person? Why would the president saying, I want to support one of the NASA principles? The president should be telling the country, my scorecard based on the big four agenda is this and this and this. And it looks like what Kimani Wamatangi as the chief whip is telling to the nation is not telling the president in private. Because all these issues that he's saying are so flowery, they are classy and they are very good, they are good ideas, but the aspect that we are trying to do is very important. Number 2, I heard finally, is defections of parties will happen, regardless. And you know, Wanainji, you know, people will always, and politicians or leaders will always go where Wanainji want. You can't say because somebody is losing an election, you never know. It is the Kenyans who will decide how they will vote. And you have had even the IBC themselves are saying they are not prepared. They have not been given enough resources. Finally, I've had, and I think Governor Mutua, with all due respect, he has been busy throwing these. I saw him when he left here. I watched him when he left here and went to somewhere in Embakasi via train. Has been saying, oh, you know, these corruption issues, the deputy president and what have you. I know, and you know, we should not just be making aspersions. If Cherargei has committed an offense, let the law take its place. Why should you accuse me on something that does not exist? I remember him, for example, he was just cleared the other day over a corruption case of buying a second hand. Does it mean we can accuse him of corruption? So anytime, and I think as a country, especially coming from a leader like him, when we make an aspersion against, for example, Kimani Wamatangi, You should be able to substantiate by saying Kimani Wamatangi is like this and this because there is a court matter. But just waking up and say, you know, so-and-so is corrupt, we know is corrupt, yet yourself, you are just being cleared the other day from a corruption case. So should people say you are corrupt because you have been accused of a corruption case? So I think going into the future, I want to ask all political presidential hopefuls, including Kimani Wamatangi, Governor Mutua, and others who are running for presidency.
Yeah.
Let us sell the agenda. Let us avoid being busy tainting other people's names, saying because you know that is how this country fails. So I think based on that, I want to say that there is no inducement. In fact, let me not say cash. There is no inducement. There is no force.
Yeah.
There is no undue influence. There is no sweeteners. There is nothing. The people who are joining Asla movement are joining for the winning team, and they want to assist in transforming this country through bottom-up approach. Even President Biden, by the way, of America, is using bottom-up approach to fix the economy in America, as we discussed.
Okay.
So the future is luminous.
All right, let's take a quick break here on Daybreak. When we come back, I see a lot of your feedback coming through. And IBC now says that the new boundaries time is bad for 2022 polls. We'll find out what that then means for the future of the country, as they say also that they're expecting more than 25 million voters in 2022. That coming up in just a bit. All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. We are getting your feedback in just a bit at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Governor Mutua, I know you need to transition to a move to Kwale in a bit, so I'll give you a chance to respond to what Cherargei before we switch gears into a conversation on the county's cash crunch.
As I respond, there's a tweet that was sent with a quote by one Moses Okoth, who is watching, and He tagged me, and it's a quote by Dwight Eisenhower, who spoke in March 6, 1956, and he said, if a political party does not have its foundation in the determination to advance a cause that is right and that is moral, then it is not a political party, it is merely a conspiracy to seize power. And this really explains the political parties that we have in this country. They are not based on a belief of rolling back poverty, but to seize power, and that has been the main problem. That's why you can see defections. Because if you believe in a party like what Senator Matangi is saying, you believe in the principles of a political party, then you don't defect. You don't defect. You resign from that party and go and join another, your outfit. You don't enjoy the salary because you're in one party and then you go into another one. I mean, it is wrong. It is not right, because our parties are based on greed to join power. There's also a gentleman called Jenga Kongo Reagan, who has also tweeted and says that is the reason you find that manifestos are just for winning elections, then they are thrown out. And therein lies the problem. And that's why Wananchi get shafted all the time. The rich continue becoming richer, the poor continue becoming poorer, and that's the country we are in. When I'm going around and I listen to people, and I like what Senator Matangi said, and he gave me a charge that our party, Maendeleo Chapter Party, should be a party, for example, that leads by example in terms of ideology. And Chirangai has even pointed out some of the things we're talking about, the creation of jobs, setting up industries everywhere, and the things that we need to do to help our people. And that's the ideology that we need in our country. I remember during the days of the Mwai Kibaki, when we formed the Party of National Unity, PNU. Yes, it brought together different parties, but we even had a slogan that says, Kazi Iendelee. It was based on what? Kazi Iendelee. We've been doing good work so far. Let's continue with the work. And Kibaki could stand during Jamhuri Day and say, Haya basi mujienjoy. Uhuru and Ruto today cannot tell Kenyans what they enjoy, because the economy is in a shambles, and truth be told, it's not just about COVID.
Yeah.
COVID does not just affect Kenya, it's about everywhere. So that's been a challenge. Now, can I jump into the IBC conversation?
Yeah, I wanted us to move into that right after quickly, this.
Yes. You see, with the IBC issue and talking about they'll not be able to run an election, basically what they're doing is that they are causing a crisis so they can be funded. And this is the problem we are facing in our Kenyan system. There's a disconnect. Does one government agency speak to another government agency? Do we know what we're doing as a country? For the chairperson of IBC to go to the media and say they want to run an election, they've not been funded, it means there's a problem in the communication. Why can't we have a country based on ideology where people sit together and say, okay, what do you want? You'll get this at this time, you'll get this at this time. We governors have had to threaten to shut down the counties for us now to be told we'll be given money. And for the record, we've not received a single shilling yet. Yes, they have said they have disbursed, but there's nothing up to this morning that has reflected in the account of Machakos. Maybe they reflect by 10 o'clock. So we still don't have that money. It may reflect today, it may reflect next week. And then we have 5 days to spend a whole lot of this money. We are joking as a country. We are not very serious in simple management. Why? Because people get into power to retain power and to make money, not get into power to actually help our people. And that's how we are.
All right. Matangi?
Yes, Trevor.
And just before Matangi comes, I'm going to tell our viewers that I'm going to log out because I'm getting into a car to go to a Kwale meeting. But as soon as I get into the car in the next 5 minutes, I will log back in and we can continue the conversation.
All right. See you shortly, Governor.
Okay. That will be a mobile president
motorcade.
Speaking to us. I think it will be interesting to see his motorcade, as you all say. So, Trevor, yeah. Let me just take a minute on 2 issues that were raised by Senator Cherargei.
Yeah.
The first is the allegation that he makes that the president is attempting to succeed himself. And I will just respond to it because he said it quite a number of times, yeah. On this show. And I'm not here appearing as a defender of the president when it comes to those issues, but as a statement of fact, because I believe we have a responsibility to say things that we are well seized of and we have knowledge of.
Yeah.
The question of that implied assertion that the president is attempting to succeed himself by affiliating and engaging, having discussions with other political leaders, I think it flies in the face of what simple common knowledge about leadership and management is about. Yeah. Because, Trevor, let it be known for anyone ever seeking to become president of this country or a leader of any sort, especially at that level, yeah, that there is an inextricable marriage between politics and economics. That the political advancement of any country depends, yeah, also on good political management. That is why, Trevor, if you remember, there was a time when the late President Moi made a very famous comment that still does its rounds today, that siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya. That's what Moi said. He said that out of a lot of deep knowledge and experience. Yeah. You see, Trevor, ask yourself, why doesn't Somalia today or in the near past, why don't they sit down to talk about political development? Yeah. You know, I mean, why don't they have summits in Mogadishu about growing and building an expressway in their town between the airports? Why don't they sit and talk about building bypasses in Mogadishu to Kismayo? It's because there is absolutely no proper political management, and they are in chaos. And that's why I would just want to say to my friend, it may sound good to say, yeah, you know, for political quick shots, but in reality, it doesn't work that way. Yeah. If you are president, you have to ensure that, one, those people who are political leaders like yourself, and that is how people are sent to the office of president in the Republic of Kenya and in democracies, yeah, that you use that political path to get there. So you cannot ignore the management of the politics so that you can blend it well with your program of development. On the question that he raises, that the president is just focusing on who will be where, and I'm sure Kenyans attest to this. There is no day I would ever want to allege or pretend, as I sit here, that government, the political party of Jubilee, does not have its own challenges. That happens every day. There are monumental challenges that the government has got to overcome, from the ravages of COVID to the hit and impact on the economy and cash flows and so on. All those are challenges. People are expecting, you've just heard what Governor Mutua was commenting about, and I'm sure we'll come to that, yeah, on the cash crunch where counties are complaining that they, yes, don't have funds. Yes. All those are challenges for real, which are there. We cannot wish them away or hide away from them. The point is this, that yes, those challenges being there, what is the best conduct of a political leader at this particular time? I do not think that any Kenyan anywhere will say that they have not seen that still, even in spite of all the challenges and problems that are there, yeah, there is work that is still continuing to be done. If there are projects which were started, for example, the infrastructure projects, you live here in Nairobi, Trevor, you've seen the work that's being done on the expressway continues day and night. Yeah. You've seen that the projects of building roads which were started are still ongoing. Our children are back to school, albeit there are quite a few challenges. There's the talk about the transition to higher and the new system of education and every other aspect. Yeah. We have the challenges where we are facing corona, and we need to bring in vaccines to inject our people, ensure that we have test kits. And I want to also applaud, for example, what the governors were saying. Remember, I'm the one who brought in that matter, yeah, when we were discussing here 2 weeks ago, that we also need to rethink and see how do we empower our county governments, yeah, to procure directly for themselves in the fight against corona, to, yeah, bring in their own test kits and vaccines, of course following a correct channel, yeah, and with transparency. And I think they picked cue from there, and it's working. What I'm saying is that all those challenges are there, yeah, but work is still being done. What I would want to urge, as far as that is concerned, is to ensure that, yes, let us play our politics. It's a part of the democratic process and where we are today. But on the question of, do we compromise, yeah, the better day for our people in the quest for political placement such that we look like we are better people. We have said this, we are smarter politicians, we will get quicker and faster to the target where we want to get, and take shortcuts. I think we have to make a serious decision that, that in the long run, this country will be a better country. We'll have even a better legacy and a better history as political leaders who existed at this day and time, if we act responsibly. Now, if you want me if you allow me, I would just want to take a last shot at what Governor Mutua talked about on this question of IBC. Unless you want us to talk about it
discuss that in just a bit. In fact,
if you talk about it, because I wanted to say one or two things on it.
We'll talk about two issues, the county's cash crunch and IBC. But now let's take a bit of feedback so that we wrap up this conversation on the political defections and everything and talk about the cash crunch in the counties now. J.M. Musoma says, ask the defecting Wamushombas and Cherargeis why they are preaching the goodness of Canaan while eating Pharaoh's food. Why can they begin the Exodus phase and overcome a wilderness experience if they want to deliver Kenyans to the promised land? All right. Jacob Abere says, do majority of parties in Kenya have ideologies or personality cult following? If they had, they would have celebrated birthdays like KANU and ODM. What we are seeing are briefcase parties trying to outsmart each other via tribal arithmetics. Otieno Wycliffe says, politicians in Kenya don't want leadership. They want power so that they can have legal authority, which they also violate to pursue their own personal interests. Okay? Koa Frederick says, there will be a lot of moments as we approach 2022. However, I think he meant movements. It is for a fact that from Mount Kenya, Ruto will win big. He has a solid base that is making the deep state unsettled. Okay? Engineer Nazaro says President Kenyatta team should come out strong to counter UDA infiltration in their backyard. Tough laws should be in place to govern defection. The president should move with speed to counter UDA propagandists on the ground. Koa Frederick says ODM needs NASA, UDA needs at least one of the principals from the NASA camp to push their numbers, probably Mudavadi or Kalonzo. The next government will be a coalition, but with no folding of parties as they did with Jubilee in 2017. While Dismas Mokua here also says that defections are not unusual in democracies where political personalities are stronger than the political parties. Kenya has seen defections every electoral period. What will be unusual is to have the politicians defect with votes. Those defecting should resign and run on new parties if indeed they have the numbers. In other words, they should be defecting with resignation letters. All right, let's switch gears now and talk about the county's cash crunch, and I hope we can get Governor Mutua back online. He mentioned that he's moving to a vehicle now because he's heading to Kwale. But Cherargei, I'll start with you on this issue of cash to the counties. Set for us the stage here, because there's been some complaints, and I heard this from the governor of Kirinyaga, Anne Waiguru, saying that they have a very short window to spend money that will then raise audit queries come next year. What is the lasting solution to this issue here?
I don't think Governor Waiguru was right on that, but anyway, that may be because you roll over programs, but you don't. The end of the financial year will come later, so it doesn't arise audit queries. I think she must have misinterpreted the law. But of course, my position has been known that it is unfortunate that we are talking about cash crunch within counties where 102.6 billion from the previous financial year of 2020-2021 is yet to be released with counties. 43 billion is a drop in the auction, and we would have expected even the minimum government would have released would have been 80 billion, and then maybe the rest would be given out later as the year progresses. But I have always insisted that the fact that the government does not release money on time and timely will always affect service delivery. And it is not in question. Our people are suffering with now issues of COVID, with now issues of economy. Economy is doing badly. And I want to laud the members of National Assembly. For the first time in this life of members of National Assembly, at least they rejected some unfair taxations that the Ministry of Treasury, led by Ukuri Yatani, wanted to impose taxes on issues of boda, LPG, gas, and many other that would have affected the local Mwananchi. I think as a country, it is time, and I read a paper, I don't know whether it was which on by the former EACC boss, where he said that it is time to take stock of our devolved units. Is it sustainable? Is it, are we able to achieve the target? You know, most of the counties, as I said last time, have become employment bureaus. You find a county, out of their budget, 80% is on recurrent expenditure. So you go to the ground and you don't have tangible development agenda on the ground. And I think as a country, we need to take stock that counties are now paying only recurrent. They are paying money. There is no substantive development of ECD, of water, of roads, of fixing roads, and many others. The second point I want to make, and I said last week that CS Ukuri Yatani has violated the Constitution under Article 219. The law is very clear under PMF Act that money must be dispersed as appropriated by Parliament on time and timely, as even the PMF Act has become very crystal clear. Somebody who says the law is clear. The law is so clear that the CS has violated Article 219. The CS should be operating from committee maximum prison. If this country was functioning as envisaged under Article 10 on the national principles and good governance, where rule of law is respected, the CS in charge of Treasury should be facing prosecution for violating under Article 219. Because we can't reduce, and it is disappointing to reduce governors to be begging. Every time they threaten, they want to shut down the country. Why don't we as a country, for once, allow the money to be dispersed timely so that our county units can function? And I'm a champion of devolution. I'm telling you, Trevor, going into the future, if devolution functions properly, no one will even care who is the president. Because if I am in my village somewhere in Mosoriat and the road is fixed, I have running water, I have bursary, ECD is functioning, hospital has drugs, why would I care who becomes the president in Nairobi? So the big question is, let us allow devolution to work. And I've always insisted, as I conclude, that there are people in this government, the national government, who are hell-bent to make sure devolution does not work. So that if you see, we have been complaining, Trevor, and you have covered this time and again, even the royal media has been covering this, that there is so much clawback of county functions, where governors are being told the functions as yours, but when it comes to allocation of money, for example, the issue of purchasing of procurement for KEMSA supplies, the mask, the vaccine, and the COVID, and I think it is very important. Secondly, since to take the last shot on that, is that I'm happy. When I saw Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, I think Governor Oparanya, Governor James Ongwae proposed, and I want to thank the Chief Whip, Senator Kimani Wamatangi, who is saying is the presidential material. I think some 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, he suggested that let us allow counties to buy vaccine. I would be excited to have my Nandi County Assembly doing a supplementary budget to buy their own vaccine and ensure we vaccinate around 870-something thousand residents of Nandi. So that if we do not devolve the issue of purchase of vaccine, it will be hard. You know, Western Kenya, part of Nyanza is on a lockdown. The only solution, even as we go to fourth wave, because I have seen, in fact, the Patrick Amot, and it's unfortunate that he's still acting. I would have expected that he be confirmed. He has been doing a good job and he has been elected, even in the world, he has been recognized. That he has been, he said even in today's dailies that the demand for ICU beds is supersonic. They also, high dependency units is supersonic, even as we go to fourth wave. What is the long-term solution? I have insisted, and I want to still request the government that, one, let us allow counties to purchase their own medicine, and then number two, let us focus more effort on vaccination. Let us vaccinate. People are going to Safaralali this weekend. Naivasha, people, I know the people of Subaru, I'm told they are the hotcakes in town, but people, even as they go to social places like Naivasha, many other issues, do we have as a country solution? And I pray one day, Trevor, that even as we reopen Parliament and National Assembly on session, I would pray one day that us as leaders, even in the Senate, and we will be able to sit and even one day discuss about how to get vaccine to each and every 47.5 million Kenyans going to the... Another issue that we have noted, and as a senator, there is a challenge of oxygen supply. You remember we even discussed, and you hosted that show that day, that there was a shortage of oxygen supply within counties.
Yeah.
I have seen, even as we approach to the fourth wave, we are yet to fix that problem of ensuring that we have adequate oxygen supply within the county hospital, so that in case the fourth waves come,
Yeah.
as it has been predicted of the Indian variant or any other variant, we are able to contain that wave. And I think as a country, Trevor, let me say this sincerely, that as a country, from the president to everybody else, are people who have been privileged to be given leadership.
Yeah.
I think let us, in a special way,
Yeah.
focus on getting vaccine to each and every Kenyan.
Okay.
If we are able to vaccinate, and Kimani Wamatangi was telling me a story, their travel as leadership, I think some few weeks to America, and he was telling us people no longer wear masks.
Yeah.
I was watching a football match yesterday, and I was shocked no one is wearing a mask. You know why? Because people are vaccinated. Let's vaccinate Kenyans, allow them to go back to their lives.
All right. Governor Mutua, you had mentioned earlier on that this money has not reflected yet, and even counties had threatened to shut down. And how is this going to work going forward? Because even Governor Anne Waiguru had mentioned that it's going to raise audit queries when you have such a short time to spend money that was disbursed to you late.
Well, I think it comes back to the issues that we talked about financial management, you know, and where do we want to be as a country? Because why give us money 5 days to the end of the financial year, 6 days to the end of the financial year, and you give us those money with a letter that says that we need to pay pending bills, and you wonder, I mean, who has created those pending bills? Have been created because we've not had money to pay people. And so as a result of you withholding money for 4-6 months to counties, it means that people are done their work. They tell us just work on the pending bills and all that. It's as if you are telling us how to do their pending bills, giving us money. And not even that. We are not even getting of full case you still don't have enough money to pay the pending bills. The other important thing is that Senator Rangai talked about the PFM Act, and you know, and that is what is used to get governors and charge them because they have not. I wonder if it was how it's not happening to the national government officials, because it's also a form of corruption when you're not really able to follow the law. Because we've been talking about money coming to counties throughout, and I asked yesterday in a press conference, why can't we get the money in a drip?
All right. We seem to be having a bit of a challenge there with Governor Mutua because he's on the move. The network is a bit shaky there. We'll try and get him.
Presidential bus.
We'll try and get him back. They say that
coverage.
Absolutely.
But thank you for coming.
I'll be advising him
Yes.
when I see him next.
Yes.
That the best way is to get a big, nice presidential bus armed with communication equipment.
Yes, gadgets.
Then, when a president speaks, then he speaks. Anyway, you know, I just wanted to add something very quick to what Senator Cheragi has said, because on that question of vaccinating our people across the country, that is something that we must put as top priority for us. You know, Trevor, and that's what my good friend Cheragi there was alluding to.
Yeah.
Indeed, I'm sure you must have seen yesterday in some of the major corporations in the United States and in Europe, they are barring employees from accessing offices to continue with their work if they are not vaccinated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after that, they have gone ahead to open certain states fully, and people are allowed now to move. They no longer wear masks. And what is the cure? What's the threshold? Vaccination. Vaccination. So I would want to propose, because I had come up with this proposal earlier to the county governors, that indeed, because you see already we have a challenge when they talk about the money that has not been disbursed to them and the lateness. Indeed, the money may not be there if they were to rely on their own amounts. And probably what would be proposing, Trevor, is because there is an emergency kitty set aside to deal with the coronavirus pandemic, then the best way would be to propose by governors to national government that kitty be decentralized. that, for example, if you have 10 billion that has been placed aside to deal with the pandemic, decentralize that kitty, and agree with certain guidelines to the county government that if you follow this guideline to do this and that, then you can procure. And if there was, for example, 40 billion that has been put aside, then let each county get, according to its needs and number of citizens, an amount that is equal to, including guidelines that would give probably a proposed ceiling of what amount should you procure. Now that national government has done procurement, they know that a vaccine called ABC should cost so much when it is procured from the international manufacturers and test kits. They'll be saying the guideline is such that if one costs, for example, $15 or $20, don't purchase anything above $20, anything below. And then you can apply the other standards. You know, the Licensing and Poisons Board, Kenya Bureau of Standards, and so on, to follow now in that quest. We have government bodies like KEMRI. They can step in and ensure that anything that is going to be approved passes through them, including Kenya Bureau of Standards. And that way you can get a more fast-tracked system, whereby without having to rely on when Mutahi Kagwe and his troop are going to go to Tana River, to Kilifi, to Kiambu, to Kisumu to do the work or procure and send there, then you'd have a faster process. I think it is important to have that done. Now, having said that, on this question of the lateness of disbursements, Trevor, first let me put it on record that I'm one of the firm believers that funds to county governments must be disbursed to county governments in a record time according to our constitution. And our constitution places that mandate with very specific instructions, using very clear language. In fact, the constitution says prompt and timely disbursements of resources, of the funds. And this is one thing that the Treasury has got to do. You know, Trevor, if there was going to be any reason why there would be interruption of adhering to that schedule, it is important for Treasury to share that information with county governments in advance, such that even for purposes of planning for a county government, they'll be knowing that this is when we expect to get our disbursement. This is what is happening to cash flow, because a county governor and the cabinet secretary for finance and planning are public officers at a level who are able and should be able to communicate for purposes of effective management without either one belittling the other or the other one thinking that you know, they hold much more fort and exclusion to rights of information. I think that kind of management would help our counties. But that having been said by myself, Trevor, there is also a message that we also must send to our county governments. Because in their continued cry that they're not getting disbursements on time, you'd be asking yourselves, so here you are, you've been entrusted by our law, by the people who have elected you to office, that you're going to manage the affairs of that county. And, you know, when you've said that you're going to manage, that does not mean that management is limited to that you're going to be expecting all the time and only that you're going to be receiving funds from county governments. And that's why I've challenged county governments, and I would want to do it again, that for them to be at the end of the day free of this burden of the jail and prison, of all the time themselves complaining, they have to innovate, they have to think, they have to plan on how to grow their own source revenue. Because, you see, Trevor, our counties are endowed big time with so many aspects. For example, ask yourself from maybe, you know, some of the counties where you yourself come from, Trevor, you know, look at the Lake Region counties. What is it that they would do to make sure that they collect revenue? The Lake Victoria is just next to them. I mean, how would they team up, for example, to promote tourism around that place and collect revenue the way Masai Mara does? Masai Mara collects over 3 billion, you know, in a year. Why wouldn't Kisumu, joined with Homa Bay, come up with a plan that is crisp, that they would promote and work on tourism aspects around the lake, because that is the resource they have.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they sit and agree, for example, that they would put up a county facility to freeze, export, and whatever, assist farmers therefore of fish, and collect levies and permits, which would help them. I mean, in so many unique, specific ways, our counties can grow their revenue, and at the end of the day, you find from a research that was done by a firm that is known, well and profoundly here in Kenya, counties like Nairobi has no business waiting for national government to give them disbursements. Indeed, the opposite is true. Do you know, Trevor, it is in government records that somewhere in the years 1968, 1969, 1970 there, Kiambu County itself used to lend money to national government, and they would be paid back. Kiambu County Council, they used to lend to national government. That time, because they had resources that they were collecting with good management, juxtaposed with the needs that they had at that particular time. And what would be saying to our county governors at this particular time, if they do not think out of the box and plan around own source revenue with good management, they may be begging for a long time. Lastly, I think it is also time that our national government and county governments would need to relook at the question of how do you allow and open the window to allow counties to borrow from maybe partner governments within the globe internationally, whereby, why wouldn't the governor for Nairobi have a package or a pact with the government of Guangzhou in China, which is also a province just like Nairobi. And they would agree that for our infrastructure projects, our infrastructure needs, that the governor of Nairobi can agree with the principal in Guangzhou, and they can come up with some working arrangement. That does not necessarily need to go through the bureaucracy of national government. If we had that kind of latitude, whereby you allow county governments to open that window and look at how they would borrow and how they would partner, you might find that some of these things would eventually be dealt with in ensuring that we have counties that are progressive.
All right. Governor Mutua, we had lost you earlier on there because of network issues, and you're being advised to get a presidential motorcade. But are these options viable for you, building your own source revenue and even having counties have a bilateral agreement with other countries to borrow directly without going through the national government? Is that a viable option?
It's a viable option. That's what we've been discussing from the word go, and my apologies to our viewers because I'm on the movement to meet people and listen to people on the ground. I am currently, to give you a location, I'm currently in the middle of the Indian Ocean on
I can hear the governor insisted here.
Crossing. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Yes, I'm currently on the Koni Ferry. Now, about getting a presidential motorcade, I have a strong motorcade. The problem is the Kenyan network. The problem is the connectivity in this country, the bandwidth. We paid $5 million to get the bandwidth, but then it is squeezed by these companies, so that your bandwidth is very, very low. If you go to Dubai or you go to South Africa, the bandwidth is very high, so you can connect very well. So the problem is the people. Now, when it comes to this issue of disbursement, and I like what Senator Matangi has talked about, allowing counties to make money. But the current scenario is that majority of taxes that are collected by the national government are collected from counties. When I have an industry, I bring a factory, and I brought factories to Machakos, when they pay the VAT, when they pay their taxes, income taxes, they don't come to the counties. They all go 100% to the national government. All I'm collecting is a small portion of rent. I'm collecting business license of 3,500 shillings a year. So I'm hardly collecting any money, and we need to do like what they do in the US, so that substantial, a certain percentage of the taxes, income tax, VAT, all these other taxes, are left behind in the county government. Yes, I like the idea of us being creative. That's what some of us have been trying to do, so we can actually grow the economy, so we don't have to depend on the national government. But that will take time. So when they collect money, we expect that money to be given back to us. It is actually our money, as per the Constitution, that is being given back to us. And we need to stop the bureaucracy. Let Machakos enter into a PPP, so I can build railways, so I can build roads for my people, so I can build stadiums for my people. But doing that is so problematic, because everything is still centered at the top. Now, this debate about COVID, for example, being able to get our own COVID drugs, you know, it goes back to decentralization. The Ministry of Health wants to centralize everything. Kenya orders as one. You know, they should be giving us policies saying, yes, you can order, but order from here, or do this, or do this. Health is evolved so that services can be given to the people on the ground, so that you can meet the World Health Organization mandate of a hospital, a good clinic within 5 kilometers. And finally, this issue of giving us money late, let me just give it plainly. It is disrespect. They are paying the military on time, they are paying their contractors on time, but they are not giving us money. And we don't need to be given money, all of it at a time. Even if you give us, instead of waiting for several months to give us lump sum, 4 billion, give us $1 billion a month if there's a shortage of resources. So we can clear with the small contractors, with the small suppliers, so we can pay for development projects to go on. But this thing of withholding 3-4 months and then giving us a lump sum, when you know we can't spend the money, it is nothing but disrespect and disorganization. Back to you, Trevor.
But Governor, what does this now mean to the counties? Because even if the money comes, I heard Governor Waiguru complaining that you need the financial year to be extended, which is a tall order, but then it will raise audit queries at the end of it all. So what are the governors suggesting?
Because the law is very clear. Well, the Treasury has said they'll keep IFMIS open. Because usually they use IFMIS as a gate. You know, they close it when the counties are in, they open it for the national government. And we don't know how it's going to apply, because now there will be a lot of carryover. Will we be allowed to pay bills of last year? Will we be able to process payments? Will we be able to even undertake necessary procurement? For example, our health industry is in shambles all over the country. You know, there's no medicine. People are buying gloves. Our locum health workers have not been paid for 6 to 7 months. Will we be allowed to do all those things at the end of the financial year, when the law says clearly the year ends end of June and you start a new year in July? Not only that, will we start the new year properly? When will we start the new year? That means there will be a delay in the starting of the new year. It will go to August, September, another disorganization. How come countries like Canada, countries like UK, countries like Australia, when the year closes June 31st, on July 1st, people are spending money from the new year? So it is this kind of economic shambles and systems that need new leadership in this country that Wamatangi and I will offer in the long run, God willing, to change this country so that we are in a better place. Because at the end of the day, it's our people who are suffering. There are no jobs being created, and we continue in poverty, and the ruling class continue being powerful.
All right. I'd like us to talk about two final issues really quick on the boundaries on the IEBC. Let's switch to that. New boundaries time barred for 2022 polls. IEBC says that they cannot do that within this time frame. Cherargei, I'll start with you. Do they have a point as IEBC? Was it unrealistic to begin with to even imagine that this delimitation could be done before 2022?
I was privileged to interact with IEBC from 2017. When we did audits of 2017 elections. And from day one, when even commissioners resigned, IEBC, you have to remember that they have never received any financial support. And you have heard even when they appeared yesterday before the Senate that they don't have adequate resources to prepare for 2022 general elections, which is dangerous. And I think everybody should be concerned, because if we do not have a proper electoral process that is well-resourced, that IEBC can function properly, then we'll go back to where we were in the 0708, which we don't want to go, 2013, 2017, where elections will be nullified, not only presidential, but even the county assemblies, the county MP seats, and many others. So my worry is that we have not well-resourced IEBC to be able to do their work as provided for by the Constitution. Secondly, and when BBI debate came on the floor of the House, everybody agreed that the creation of 70 constituencies was unconstitutional. When you look at Article 89(5) of Constitution of Kenya on the process of delimiting boundaries, it is the exclusive mandate of Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission as per the Constitution. And there are certain features that you must look under Article 89(5) of the Constitution of Kenya, like population, culture, values, and many others. I'm aware there are around, I think, 26 or somehow protected constituencies that have not. Population also is one of the key factors when you are delimiting either constituencies or even boundaries. So I agree, IEBC does not have, and the law is very clear that there is a certain time limit under the Constitution that you must be able to delimit constituencies or even boundaries, that either ward boundaries or constituency boundaries. And you remember, even on the issue of even county boundaries, there has been a bill that has been lying in the Senate for some time.
Yeah.
So from where I sit, when you look at the constitutional provisions, it will be very hard for IEBC to create new constituencies, because one, when they appeared even before the Senate and the BBI, when the BBI, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, you had the IEBC did not have even the statistics of the country. Yeah. When we talk about 47.5 million Kenyans that according to 2019 population and housing census, the IEBC was saying they were yet to receive the statistics from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. So when you talk about the limitation as per the Constitution and the features that you must follow, I agree with the IEBC that it would be not practical, and I think the earliest that will have delimitation, review of boundaries might even go up to 2027 general elections or thereabout, because IEBC, one of the challenges is the law. Number two is the resources. We have heard yesterday that the resources is not sufficient. Yeah. And number three is that time, looking at the 14 months general election, you remember IEBC is yet even to have commissioners in place. The process, the selection panel is in place. Some Kenyans have been shortlisted. Now you are sitting in a position where you are supposed to get new commissioners who must settle in as, of course, the regular recommendations had proposed that we should have at least commissioners in place that can be able to be in place early enough. And like, I think Chepokati and team were in office 8 months before the general election. So all these challenges that is facing IEBC, I think what we need to do as Parliament, and I hope the Committee of Finance and Budget, or Budget Committee in National Assembly, should be able to have a sit-in. Should even, I saw yesterday discussing supplementary budget at the floor of the National Assembly to get more resources for IEBC. Because, Trevor, and I want to close by saying this, if we do not get right in the process of electing from an MCA to the president, the country risks going back to where we have always thought about the results outcome, whether the process was of integrity, whether the process was done within the law, whether the process was open and transparent and fair, as envisaged by under Article the Congregation 88 and 89, where they say the process of election should be fair, should be transparent, should be open to all. And I think under Article 37 of the Constitution, it says that every Kenyan has a right to free, fair, and open and transparent election. So if we do not have IEBC which is functional, my worry is that we'll go back where we have always been, where people go on the streets and say we don't trust the integrity of results. But if we fix the IEBC and allow IEBC to function as it should be, then I can assure you, Trevor and Kenyans, that going into the future, when you lose an election, when you win an election, the loser will accept that the process was open, was transparent. And I think I agree that there will be no constituencies. I think there are people, finally, that has been lying through, in quotes, through the BBI, that they have been saying, you know, when BBI passes, we'll have seven. Even if BBI was to pass, it was impossible, because the role, and I want to insist this, the role of IEBC under Article 89(4)(5) of the Constitution is very clear, that there is no one else that has powers to delimit boundaries except IEBC.
Wamatangi?
Yes, Trevor, you know, I've had this, I've had this lamentation by IEBC quite a while now, that they don't have the budget, they don't have funds. And I think, Trevor, that is, you know, to be mild, I'll call it a self-inflicted wound. And like I've said, that is just mild. I would have taken a harder shot at them, you know, when it comes to that, because how would you explain that other than call it just own self-mismanagement? You know, because, Trevor, remember, during the ruling that was given by Justice Maraga, the first time, and his team at the Supreme Court, when they nullified the presidential election, remember when they were eliciting the grounds on which they have nullified that election, they made a very, very telling statement that the IEBC should have copied and carried with itself. They said that the election is just not a one-off process,
Yeah.
that you cannot judge either the legality, the effectiveness, the acceptability of an election just based on the activities of that one day.
Yeah.
Indeed, they were just going back referring to what the Constitution itself expressly in the formation and creation of the functions of the IEBC, what the Constitution has said, that the process, the work, the functions of the IEBC are continuous,
Yeah.
from every day to day, Trevor. And so, ask yourself, Trevor, if today you are the chairman of the IEBC and you are told, give us a budget for running the elections of 2022, and you know you're going to run another one in 2027 too. And so in the preparation of preparing your budget to run your office, would you go and prepare to buy papers and pens and stamp pads and whatever and leave out an expenditure that bears the fact that you're supposed to be functional every day in the preparation for that election until the next year? So that when you say that my cost for doing this is 40 billion, you mean that included in that 40 billion is the constitutional requirement that you're going to be functional every day, such that when you ask for a budget, you'll be saying this is for buying papers, this is for buying pens, for buying whatever, paying staff for that day.
Yeah.
But this other amount included in this budget is for running in preparation for that exercise as required by law, which is continuous. And then when you have done that at the time of giving out one budget for the running of that outfit called IBC, you have no more room to come back somewhere midway and say that we have no funds, because when those funds have been provided, then you can run with them. If your budget, for example, was slashed and you are told that then you ask for 40 billion, to include this we give you 30 billion, then you spread that amount.
Yeah.
And you say, because none of all these functions can stop, including the day-to-day running, we allocate what you gave us, 30 billion, 10 billion to daily running and other functions that make IBC compliant to the Constitution, and the rest of the amount for that function. And so it is upon the providers of the finance to decide, do they want you to close shop or to be non-compliant? I think that is not a discussion that should be entertained from IEBC at this particular time. I mean, they must know that they have been malfunctional, that they have mismanaged and disorganized themselves to the extent now that they'll just end up crying.
Okay.
When it comes to this question of the 17 new constituencies that my brother has spoken about, you know, Trevor, I want to be very, very clear about this. I have been before that IBC is not expected. It is not supposed to. It is not, in fact, dictated to by law that they are going to wake up one morning and start announcing to Kenyans that we need today and tomorrow and the other day until next year or 2023, as I was saying, for us to be able to carry out this exercise of creating these new constituencies. The law which formed IEBC, which is enshrined in our Constitution, as they took oath of office, is very clear that it is their responsibility, it is their daily function to continuously ensure that the register voters, that indeed that they delineate boundaries. There's nowhere in the Constitution where it says that when their timeline comes of the period that is expected for them to carry out this exercise, that they're going to first go to an announcement. Yes, they will do public participation and so on, but the question of continuously ensuring that constituencies, wards are compliant. And you see, the Constitution also places a threshold. It says, for example, that a constituency should be compliant to the extent of the population quota. And if it is, for example, a rural constituency, maximum 30% plus, an urban constituency 40% plus. Beyond that, because that is a constitutional mandate, beyond that, then it becomes unconstitutional. If the Constitution says that you can only have a constitution with 133 Kenyans, and in the worst case scenario, plus 30%, anything above that is unconstitutional. And so, then what are you saying when you're saying that we are going to be telling Kenyans that because of what we have misdone ourselves, what we have mismanaged and malfunctioned about ourselves, that we are going to be sending the constituency of Ruiru with 500,000 people to an election whereby you know that the doctrine and requirement of the Constitution of equal representation binds you as IEBC that the implications and application of our constitution, Article 10, binds them. That they cannot just simply wake up and tell Kenyans that we are saying that we want to send you into an irregular exercise, into an illegal exercise, and we will do nothing about it until that time. You know, if I was being asked to have my word with IEBC on this matter, I think they have done Kenyans a lot of disfavor. They have put us in a very, very, terrible situation because they want us to swallow bitter and big by telling us that all the evils that we suffered in 2017, we are going to suffer them now. Do you know, Trevor, that in Kiambu, the population of the county of Kiambu right now is over 3.1 million people. 3.1 million people with 12 constituencies, whereby when you disburse CDF to the people of Kiambu, 12 members of parliament, they get CDF equal to some counties with a close number of those constituencies with probably half the amount that we are getting. And so you're saying that the people of that county don't get service. If you're telling us, and I want to give you this as an example so that they can know and hear, when you go to the elections in some places like in Ruiru, in wards like Mwehoko and other places, we normally go to elections even after midnight. People are pleading to come and vote because the population is so huge, such that you find that half the people who are supposed to vote in those streams cannot vote until midnight. You have a whole mass of people. And then you're saying that this is what we want again to send you into. I mean, where will justice be? I mean, when you say that those people will not properly, freely, be able to cast their ballot, are you talking about a responsible IEBC? And so what I would be telling IEBC is that they're going to face us in courts. If that is the situation that they're trying to premeditate, that we will not allow them to continue to cushion and pedestal that misapplication of the law and, of course, the denial of services and resources to the people that we represent, and especially in urban counties. Where you, and peri or semi-urban counties. Like, for example, Kiambu. Go to counties like Nakuru. Go to counties like Mombasa. Go to even places like Eldoret, where Senator Cheragay comes from. You know, like in Uasin Gishu. All those counties are counties that are suffering. Go to Kisumu. Same story. But it is worse off in the Mount Kenya region. And because this debate about the 70 constituencies revolved around that it looked like it is some areas that were being favored, I want to be clear and categorical about it, that there was absolutely nothing that was being done there to favor the sub-counties, the counties of Mount Kenya region. It is the right of the people of Mount Kenya region to get their equal share of the national cake when it comes to distribution of resources and equal representation. It is not a favor the people of Mount Kenya are asking for.
Dr. Mutua, finally on this. Wait a minute. I'll give you a chance.
Because I'm on the road, if I can be given a chance, just a few words. When you look at the IEBC, I've been looking at the Constitution here, and I totally agree with what Senator Matangi spoke about. Because the Constitution in 89.1 talks about that there should be 290 constituencies. But then, subsection 2, and I'll read it in full for our listeners, the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission shall review the names and boundaries of constituencies at intervals of not less than 8 years and not more than 12 years. But any review shall be completed at least 12 months before the election of members of parliament. In other words, since 2010, it's now 12 years. So within this time of 20 years, have they been reviewing, of these 12 years, have they been reviewing? Have they been working on it so that now, at 2022, next year, which is now will be the 12th year, they can announce and say, now we've reviewed, it is this much, and we are moving here. But no, they haven't. Have they really been working on it? I've not seen any public meetings. I've not seen any public barazas by IEBC talking about, the changing the boundaries. So basically, they have been sleeping on the job because the Constitution is very clear. This should have been an ongoing process. They should come out and say, after all they have done, everything remains status quo or this needs to be changed. Now, on the issue about our friends in Mwehoko, Senator Matangi Poleni Sana, that has nothing to do with
with the population that there are so many people that they vote until midnight. That is pure disorganization. You can have more polling streams. You can have a polling station inside a government office at a public park. So, you can set them up in a way that people can finish voting by 4 p.m., not even 6 p.m. So it's another disorganization by IBC, whereby people should not vote until midnight because there are more people. But the point about the population quota is well made. Now, IBC has been in shambles because they don't even have enough commissioners. We waited until this time for there to be an advertisement. Why? Because I usually feel that the electoral system is a conspiracy. It is controlled. It is made not to work, as Senator Chirangai is saying, so that at the end of the day, their decisions are made in a very haphazard way so that the right people get into power, the wrong people, the other people who are not wanted, do not get into power. So it's a conspiracy of some sort to leave IBC in limbo for that long, with the appointments coming late, with the funding not being there, not being available, so that we can maintain a status quo, a country of a few people who continue running the welfare of everybody else. So that's the problem. Because I think we are doing our closing remarks, I'd also like to say that everything that we do, and being here on the ground listening to people, people are hungry for an economic system that works. And an economic system will need a good ideology and a good political party and a good system that is able to move us forward. We have to be creative, and that is why I'm very grateful, and I thank the President and also thank Waziri Amina for ensuring that Safari Rally comes to Kenya. It is unique. This Safari Rally, when we get all these international sports coming here, it means that Kenya is receiving money. It's foreign direct investment, because people come with money, the money will be left in Kenya. It raises our state internationally. So I want to say, Viva Safari Rally. I grew up listening to Safari Rally. I'm an added fan, and we will, will follow how it's proceeding. And I want to thank the government, the national government, for bringing back Safari Rally, and I hope all of us will be able to engage from wherever we are. So I'm in Kwale, and I say thank you for this opportunity, and God bless you.
All right. Thank you so much. I believe that
just a quick one.
Yeah, is that your closing remarks, Governor? Because I was about to give you all a chance for closing remarks now. Let's start with you because I know you're at a function.
He gave his remarks.
Governor?
Hello, yes. All I can say about my closing remarks is to say that we have to move our country to a parties with ideology. What you're seeing right now, they're still going back to NASA. It's like cleaning of stores. They're going back to the formation of UDA, the formation of some of these political parties and shifting. It's people who want to gain power, but do they have an ideology on the ground? We have to go back to building parties that have a meaning, so that people do not just jump from one party to another party because they're being induced or because they're afraid of losing the elections because one person or another is popular. We need to go back to that system. That is why I was even supporting the system of brought by the BBI of parliamentary strength, whereby you have a prime minister based on the strength of a political party, so we can go back to ideology system. The next thing is to say that as a country, let's just do things well. When it comes to money to counties, let us not starve the population. The people are on the ground. This is where the people are. When people are hurting on the ground, it means that the whole country is hurting. And this is not doing well for the presidency of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, because people now are under nostalgia. People are talking about the era of Mwai Kibaki, when people had money in the pocket. What happened? I would like Uhuru and Ruto, who ran this country even before the handshake together, like lovebirds, to tell us where did they go wrong? What happened to the money? Why did we start borrowing? What happened to the economic system? Yeah. What happened to why is there growth in in corruption in our country under their tenure? What happened?
Yeah.
Did they fail? And so those are some things that we need to discuss as we think about our country. But all hope is not lost, because we've got new outfits coming up. We've got some of us who really care about the people of this country, and we are going to push and push until people get their rights.
All right. Thanks, Governor. We'll allow you to drop off because we know you're heading into a function. Asante sana. Gerard, again, I'll come to you for closing remarks as we wind up on this discussion.
Thank you. I heard Mtua will be traveling to Safarali, I hope he has a Subaru. Because I'm told it is one of the requirements to attend the startup for Safarali. You must have a blue Subaru. And it is. Anyway, we are happy that it is part of promoting the country in tourism, and we would, even recovering from this COVID, it is very important to have such events because it gives us revenue. And I want to wish everybody well. When you look the fine text of Article 89.4, it says, oh, I agree. I think there was a misinterpretation. The Constitution gives power IBC to even do continuous voter registration, review of boundaries. But the law under Article 89.4, and Kimani Wamatangi should read this, is that if there is creation of new constituencies within 12 months before general election, those constituencies will not take effect. It will if, for example, if IBC was to review boundaries now and get maybe 10 or 50 or 100 new constituencies, we are only 11 months, is it so, to the general election? So it means it will not take effect in 2022 general election. It will go to 2027. But of course, in future, if we are well resourced, and I said for 3 years as the JLAC chair, we even wrote to the president. I remember very well to do the appointing of commissioners. We even pleaded with Parliament, the National Assembly, to appropriate more resources to county, to IEBC, to ensure that IEBC is able to function. Secondly, and in closing remarks, I'm disappointed because in my county, a place called Chemase, in Chemelil Chemase ward, Tindre sub-county, the area police chiefs have been intimidating, blackmailing, torturing people in Chemelil Chemase because allegedly there were some criminals that burned down the property of Karebe gold mine. But the allegations is that the police in that area has been compromised through a mining company that we have there, and they are on a spree that they are arresting, intimidating. I can assure you, young people in Chemelil Chemase area are now living in fear of police intimidation and blackmail and torture, where they are being taken for interrogation, either in Songo, Potopoto, and they are being forced or coerced to make confessions that they were part of it. And I think as a country, the era of using force, intimidation, and blackmail to do integration is wrong, and I've alerted the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. I've tried to talk to the top chiefs of security in the country, including the CS of Interior, including the Inspector General of Police, but most of these people no longer receive the phone calls of allies of the Deputy President. I suspect maybe the President has given them order that they should not receive our phone calls because we are allies of Deputy President, and therefore assistance has not been forthcoming. Yeah. But I hope in future, when we have institutions where we don't care who is the President and institutions are functional, when we raise such issues of police brutality, police intimidation, that like what is happening in Chemelil Chemase, in the guise of protecting an investor who is practicing neocolonialism tendencies, we are able to be able to access these government offices. The IG has refused to pick my phone call or my pleas to tell the police and even transfer some of them for being rogue. I've tried calling the CS in charge of Interior, CS Matiang, who is now the coordinator, and they have not been giving any help to my people. And it shows that it is unfortunate that government is based on psychophancy. I wish this issue should be addressed. My young men and many people who are living in fear, if police are doing investigation, let them do within the law. Let us arrest you. Some of us have been arrested, taken to court, being processed properly with the law. You are not supposed to be given coercion, but I hope going into the future, we need finally to agree. I might not have agreed very well with the former president, the late John Pombe Magufuli, and I remember we eulogized. The only thing, and I said on the floor of the House, that I agree with John Pombe Magufuli up to now, is when he was able to take the investors who are mining natural resources and protect them from exploitation of natural resources, and he was able to force them to give them those resources to the people, and it is on record. I wish the same thing we saw in Turkana. As we talk today, the issues of natural resources is a very hot, and I remember we have a bill in Parliament where we are trying to come with local content bill. The natural resources that we have in this country, we have left at the mercy. So when you come to Chemelil Chemase, you have an investor who is on the rock. The government is saying they are protecting at the expense of the people. There is violation of environmental issues, violation of corporate social responsibility, and you're having an investor who is being protected by police and everybody at the expense of the local. So I hope in future, this issue of resources, even in in Kilifi, in Ukambani, in Turkana, we're having oil, we should be able to address. But I want to ask the police and people who are running the security agencies within that area, and even the IG and everybody else, please protect our people at the expense of protecting just an individual of an investor who is practicing neo-colonialism. Okay. Finally, is that I want to urge Kenyans that let us continue preaching peace, let us continue. I think the economy is doing badly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you have noticed, rains are not consistent as it should be, especially in North Rift. And we are worried that we might not have proper yields. But we hope and the rains will be consistent. And we hope the Ministry of Agriculture have in place, they have put in place necessary mechanism to ensure that even if our yield like maize and many other crops are not doing very well, we don't run into food shortage and food security in this country. Right. And finally, I want to ask, as we conclude, Senator Kimani Wamatangi, that will be in Banana with our candidate, John Njuguna Wanjiku. I hope you will be able to join us so that we can promote hustlers of banana market. I hope you will be able to.
Yes, Trevor.
Yeah.
Thank you. First, I think I want to apply my mind to the question of the transition of our education system to our young people. And I think it's an important matter that we would need to give time. The reason I say that, Trevor, is because, one, let me start by urging CS Magoha to ensure that the implementation of the new curriculum-based system is going to be one that they are going to focus on, plan very well, and ensure that it has no adverse effects on the education and assimilation of that process by our young children. And then secondly, urge that once we have then adapted this system, can it be a system that we are going to intend and plan to keep, so that then we can grow it continuously and it becomes a system that is ingrained, and we know that that is how our children get educated. We have had this normalcy now of changing our education systems every so often. Remember, we had our old system, the one up to standard 7, and then from 4, up, advanced education, A-levels, and then to university immediately. Then after that, we came with the 844. And then after 844, then now we are, in this new system. And I think part of what we do as well is when we have made up our minds that this is how we want to run our education. I think it will help even the institutions of learning, our universities, our secondary schools, primary schools. They will be able to plan, develop, grow their infrastructure and their curriculum firmly, and then develop it so that it can be useful to our children. Okay. Secondly, let me also part short on that issue of IBC by saying that I would have wanted to hear IBC chairman and his team of 3, of 2, declaring clearly to Kenyans, is IEBC ready? Are they ready to run the elections in 2022 now? And if they say they are ready, we know how ready they are and in which aspects they are ready. Lastly, I would want to also take the opportunity to congratulate and indeed welcome the organizers, the participants and the fans of Safari Rally. This is a time when we needed that kind of shot in the arm because our tourism, the focus now, global focus, is going to be on Kenya. People all over the world will be watching, others want to travel. It's also a good change of scene for our minds, after Corona, and it also awakens those old childhood memories. I don't know where you used to be, Trevor. Those
Safo.
When we used to watch Safo, and
he was yet to be born.
I was in Tambach, my friend. I was in Tambach, in your area code.
Sometimes we would even go and camp by the roadside overnight.
Yes.
When they say that the cars are passing at 6 a.m. in the morning, you would go there overnight and camp there and wait for them to come in the morning. And the only thing that you end up benefiting from is seeing a flying object in the lights. And that was enough ecstasy for you to go home and say you saw saw.
Yeah.
And remember that time we also didn't have cameras.
Yes.
So you are just
There's no
seeing those
recording.
things splitting and you have nothing to take with you. But of course, the good feeling. But it's exciting, it's nice, it feels good.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our young people are going to be enjoying and feeling the way we used to feel.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we would even nickname ourselves, and I remember sometimes when I was being sent to the market by my grandmother,
Yeah.
you know, I would hold an imaginary steering wheel and run all the way to the market, you know, while revving and accelerating, you know, the way the rally cars do, until up to the shop,
Yeah.
and back, and deliver a quarter kilo of sugar in the record time.
Speed. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Organize Senate to be part of the...
That one you will know on the floors of Parliament. Dr. Alfred Mutua Machakos, Governor, thank you so much. Dr. Kimani Wamatangi, Senator Kiambu, Majority Whip Samson Cherargei, Nandi Senator Asante Sana. There's a lot of feedback. Let's read a few of them real quick before we wind up. Jacob Abere says, is disbursement of funds to counties a reprieve really? I see not. Traditionally, budgets goes in line with calendar year. Counties haven't discussed their budgets, and we haven't seen county hall citizens' participation. Illegalities are going to happen. All right. Paro Abraham says, allowing counties to borrow through bilateral agreements with foreign development partners without national government bureaucracy is acceptable, but should be capped at a repayable amount. Okay? Bakadasia says, probably the ideal should be where all revenue is collected by counties. Counties then transfer part of that revenue to national government according to a constitutional provision. And lastly, Njenga Wakungu here says, Kimani Wamatangi is very right that Mount Kenya is not given any favor in the addition of extra constituencies. It's their constitutional right to be represented equally as other areas are according to a population quota. In fact, Mount Kenya needs more counties than any region in Kenya, okay? All right, that's where we leave it for now. And now we're heading to